So the hearing today really concerned whether or not the US government is complying with judicial orders that say to the US government, Mr. Abrego Garcia should be returned to the United States. This case has gone all the way up to the Supreme Court for emergency relief. The Supreme Court unanimously said, as I read it, that the United States needs to, as the district court said, facilitate his return. There's been some wrangling about what exactly facilitate means. But the hearing today is really about whether or not the United States government is complying with this judge's order. The judge was, I think, quite stern with the United States government, saying it doesn't sound like anything's happening. We're going to move on this, saying that there might be depositions, that the US government essentially was going to have to account for whether or not it was complying with her order. So what happens next is that the judge is going to insist that the US government provide more information now, or try to insist. We are, I think, at a bit of a showdown between the judicial branch and the executive branch. But what happens now is she has said pretty explicitly, we need to know what's going on. Every day that Mr. Abrego Garcia is in El Salvador is the day that he experiences harm. And she's made quite clear here, the judge has made clear that time is of the essence. If Mr. Abrego Garcia is returned to the United States, then I think it really is up to the government as to how they want to proceed. If you, as members of the government, want to deport somebody who's on a list that indicates that person should not be deported, then typically what you would do is reopen the immigration proceedings, and that person would be entitled to due process and an opportunity to be heard. I think this could be a precedent-setting case. We certainly are seeing the administration embrace a very broad view of their power here, and they're making arguments that transcend just this case. They're making arguments concerning whether or not judges can review the executive branch, the administration, when they make these types of decisions, and even when they make these types of mistakes. There are different areas where sometimes judges tend to defer more to the political branches. And when it comes to decisions about national security and or foreign policy and or immigration, judges typically defer to decisions that are made by the executive branch, but not always. Judges are still there to review decisions to make sure that they comply with the Constitution and applicable statutes. And certainly the Trump administration is making an argument here that judges are going outside of their lane, are going beyond their jurisdiction. My reading of these scenarios is really that, yes, immigration is generally a space, again, generally, where you see a lot of judicial deference, but that doesn't mean that judges just say we have no ability to review the decisions by the administration.